Amis téléspectateurs de Radio Télépixel, bonsoir à vous tous. C'est un plaisir pour nous de vous rejoindre une fois encore cette fin de semaine pour notre présentation hebdomadaire qui est Facil It. Facil It, c'est l'émission au cours de laquelle on parle de technologie numérique, on parle de tout ce qui se fait dans le monde des technologies. Et notre auditoire cible, je le dis toujours, ce sont les étudiants qui sont au cégep et à l'université. Pour eux, on essaie de leur expliquer comment ça se passe sur le marché du travail. Mon nom, c'est Clément Calvaire. L'émission, c'est Facil It. La plateforme pour suivre cette émission, c'est Radio Télépixel. Vous pouvez nous rejoindre par téléphone au 514-799-6087 et par courriel clément.calvaire@clémentcalvaire.com. Et aujourd'hui, on va ramener sur la plateforme quelqu'un qui a une expérience en développement de logiciels avec le processus DevOps. Avec elle, on va voir c'est quoi pour elle le développement de logiciels, comment elle s'y prend dans ses activités au jour le jour, étant donné qu'elle utilise le processus DevOps, comment est-ce qu'elle comprend le DevOps, pourquoi est-ce que c'est important pour une organisation lorsqu'on intègre une organisation d'appliquer les processus DevOps, quels sont les avantages que l'on a à les faire. Voilà autant de points que l'on va discuter avec notre invité que l'on va retrouver en direct de Milwaukee aux États-Unis. Sandra, I'm very happy to receive you tonight on this platform. This is Facil It. This is where we talk about digital technology, and our audience is students. So it's an occasion for you to talk to them, to explain them your understanding about development, software development, about DevOps. This is all we're gonna talk about in that show. How are you, Sandra? Tell me about yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me, first of all. Hello, everybody. My name is Sandra, and I'm a software developer. I have worked in IT for about 7 years now, and I still love it. I am currently a technical lead and a full-stack developer, which means I have to work with the client side as much as I have to work in the server side of the application. So basically, I am involved in every step of the software development lifecycle, which is what makes my job the most fun.
Okay, excellent. Sandra, I know you are using DevOps as a process. I would like to ask you to explain to my audience how can you explain the DevOps process? What is it, DevOps?
Of course. Well, I don't want to give you a definition that you can actually just Google, because that would be boring, right? So what I want you to understand is the new methodology that we are using across basically every new project and application development. So to make the comparison, before we have different teams that have very little connection with each other and basic communication, and each responsibility of the team was very well defined. For example, we had a development team, a testing team, and a deployment team, to name the most common. And the process consisted of planning ahead every step of the application to be developed, which could take 1 or 2 years, hopefully. And then the testing team would test the whole application to make sure that the requirements were met. After testing, the application would be released to production. The deployment team would create a WAR or ER file, mount it on an application server like Tomcat or Glassfish, and finally, the client or end user would inspect the application. And it was very common that even after the application was already in production, that means that the user was actually using it, the client would decide to change something. That's when things would get even more complicated, because we will have to basically start doing the whole process again. So it would involve a lot of time, a lot of retesting, a lot of recoding, patching. Long story short, it would create a mess. So what changed? First, there is something now called Agile Methodology. There are many methodologies. This is just one of them. And this is one of the most popular methodologies nowadays. It is called Scrum. It basically means that instead of planning the whole application ahead, you would start by planning smaller chunks of functionality. For example, user registration or user login. Secondly, teams become full stack. Usually, team members don't have a specific role in the project, so they can participate in all the steps of the development life cycle. That means that the same person can be writing code for the front end or for the back end, and the same person is responsible for writing tests when necessary and even deploying the code. Here is where concepts like continuous integration and continuous development come to place in order to help us automate a series of steps and make the whole process easier and faster. That is basically what is meant by DevOps, a person that can be part of any step of the process of developing and deploying an application.
Okay, excellent. Based on what you just explained to us, Sandra, can you tell us what is the main, the principal advantage to use DevOps in a process, in a software development process?
Sure. The most commonly seen advantage of these practices is that the end user will be able to see in this example the login screen, decide if they like it, and if it's necessary, make any changes. So instead of having to wait for the whole application to be finished in 2 or 3 years, you can just decide if what you have is what is required or change it, but definitely in a shorter period of time. Also, the concept of automating tasks helps a lot in making things faster and easier, as I already mentioned. For example, testing was and is still considered a tedious task. So with automation, you only have to write a test once, and instead of having to write the same test for the same code in different environments, you just run the automated test. Those are a couple of advantages of using DevOps.
Sandra, I know you have a team lead role in your team as a software developer. Sure. Can you tell me how is your day as a team lead software developer? Tell me about your day at work.
Okay, so usually my day starts in the morning with some coffee. Just kidding. Well, I am currently, like you said, a team leader, and I am in a Scrum methodology team. That means that every day we have a daily meeting, and each of us usually mention the task we are working on, the task we already finished, or the task we are going to start working on for the day. The point of these meetings is also to speak about any potential blockers or stoppers that could prevent us from progressing in our tasks. I usually have to have a lot of meetings with the client as well to make sure that the requirements and the steps that we're following are what is originally meant. I also have to design some solutions for the new requirements, define the tasks or the steps that the team will more or less have to follow for the process and the coding and the testing. Also, well, a very common task is just to keep my local repository up to date, because one of the most common practices that are involved in DevOps and continuous integration and development is to always push your code to repositories like Git and always have the latest version, both in remote repository and in local repository.
Excellent.
Also, some of the other tasks that are involved,
Go ahead.
To code and help mentor the other people in the team that are not familiar with a technology or another. So it's very interesting.
Excellent. Tell me, what is your biggest challenge as a software developer, Sandra?
Sure. I definitely have to say that the biggest challenge is to keep up with all the technologies available in the market. There are too many, and new ones keep coming. So it can be challenging, but this is also the fun part of this job. There is no time to get bored. It is always something new to learn. And the positive side of this is that usually technologies are very much alike. So if you are familiar with one, you will have no problem with practicing with a new one. But there is a lot to learn.
Okay. I hear you, Sandra. You explain me how your day is at work and then the process that you are using at work just to get the software delivered and then in the correct order. It seems it's a very amazing environment. Can you tell me what is your greatest experience that you are proud of and then you can share with our audience?
Of course. I think people who is in IT or is a developer will agree with me on this one. Every project will leave something in you, as you will leave something of you in a project. But having said that, sometimes having an experience with a big project is very enriching and very and it gives you a broad experience in all these technologies. So being part of a project that not only has a huge range of technologies or stack of technologies available, but also allows you to use them and get familiar with these technologies is very enriching and will increase your experience, and it will open a lot of doors. I had this opportunity with one of my previous projects with AT&T and Nokia, and it was, for example, the first time I had a direct approach with DevOps, microservices, and all these new technologies that are so popular nowadays.
Okay, our audience is most students. A lot of students are following us now, and then you will have to watch that video. As a software developer with some experience, can you tell us what qualities someone needs to have to be a successful developer?
Of course. Well, it always depends on yourself and on what it is that you want from life. But if you want to be a developer, what you have to keep in mind is that you have to be patient. Especially if you're new in the world of technology, you will require to learn a lot of technologies, like I already mentioned. So first, be patient. Second, be open to learn technologies. Don't wait until you have to learn them, but be willing to be to search according to your capacities and your free time, etc., to search for those technologies or languages that are out there in the market and that are required for job positions and start learning them. That will give you the security you need to face your first interviews, for example. So again, read, check tutorials. There's a lot of documentation available for us. Use them every day for a little while, and again, you will have a lot of fun and everything will come easier as you study every day.
Okay, if I understand. Okay, it's a continuous learning when you are working in IT field, as you mentioned before. New things are coming every day. You should be always up to date. So be patient, try to learn new things, and in order to be on the same level at the market, because the market the market will require you a lot of things, so you should be ready to go to the market. Sandra, in IT field, there is a lot of possibility. I can be a network guy, I can be a programmer guy, I can be a developer guy. So, as I mentioned before, a lot of students are following us let's say some of them are really interested to be a software developer. Given you are there with us, you have experience, what will you advise them to be really, to be, not to be successful, because I already asked you that question, but what advice you will give them if someone will be interested to become a software developer?
Of course. I would have to reinforce here the idea of practicing and being at least a little disciplined. What worked for me was to pick a language. Why I chose it? Because it was very popular. There still are many jobs available for that language. I am proficient in Java, but Java is only one of hundreds of languages. So what I would advise, and this is also what my mentors advised a long time ago, is pick one and learn it well. Specialize in that language. Because like I said, other languages are going to have enormous similarities, so learning new languages is going to be easy. But the more experience you have with one language, the more you will feel confident. So if you try to learn a thousand languages, it is good. But first, have the discipline to learn one fully: documentation, syntax, requirements, frameworks. There's a lot to know about one particular language, and then start exploring. Because remember, you don't. It's not only enough to have a language. You also need to accompany this language with other technologies. So yes, as a developer, you will have Java, but being a Java developer is not enough. You probably will have to know some other tools like Maven, like Kubernetes, like Jenkins, and these are technologies that we have to know now every day, and even from junior positions. So that would be my recommendation. Pick a language for whatever reason, because you like it, you have a little experience, you learn it at school, and be proficient in that language and start exploring the other technologies that you require and that work together well with that language. That will be very helpful.
Thank you for this helpful advice. Before closing that interview, a last question for you, Sandra. We are in the COVID-19 mode. Tell me what COVID-19 changed for you on your day-to-day activity. I know you are in Milwaukee, in USA. Did COVID-19 change your day, your way to work?
Yes and no. I have 2 dogs, so I consider myself kind of lucky in that aspect, because working from home, I am able to spend a whole more time with my dogs. But regarding work activities only, it didn't really change a lot, because all I need is a computer and a connection to the internet to do everything and the same activities I can do from the office.
Excellent.
So this is also a good reason for you to be a developer. I mean, doors are open for us in every way.
Exact. And then there's a possibility with the context as well. If you know very well your things, there is a lot of opportunities, because there is like we are taking the online way now, because every market, if ever they didn't have a website, a working website, now they don't have choice to have not only the working website, they should have the e-commerce as well, because people will get to connect to the website to buy those stuff, because people will stay at home. Sandra, that's time for me to thank you for spending that moment with us. There is a lot of things that you share with our students. They really appreciate that. I can mention that to you, and they will have to learn a lot of things based on what you just explained to us. What did they need to get a successful developer, and then what qualities they need to have. I will let them know you are on LinkedIn. If ever they would like to continue that conversation with you, they can find you on LinkedIn, and then you are open to continue that conversation with us. Thanks again very much, Sandra, for the time. And then that was a very, very amazing moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Clement. And again, thank you for having me. And I want to wish you all best of luck.
Excellent. Mesdames et messieurs, ça a été notre invité pour notre édition de cette fin de semaine. Son nom, c'est Sandra Cohen. Elle est un full stack développeur, Java, DevOps, Angular. Avec elle, on a vu c'est quoi DevOps, c'est quoi les processus. Elle nous a expliqué comment ça se passe dans une grande organisation. Elle travaille pour une grande organisation. Comment ça se passe quand on entame le processus de développement de logiciel, toutes les activités qu'on met en place pour entamer le processus. Et puis, pour vous étudiants qui nous écoutez, elle nous a parlé aussi qu'est-ce que vous avez besoin comme attitude, comme qualité pour que vous ayez du succès si vous voulez vraiment entamer une carrière en software development. Mesdames et messieurs, ça a été facilité. Mon nom, c'est Clément Calvert. La plateforme pour nous suivre, c'est Radio Télépixel. Le moyen de contact avec nous, c'est le 514-799-6087. Ça, c'est pour le téléphone. Par courriel, clément.calvert@clémentcalvert.com. Merci encore une fois à vous tous. Merci à Tony qui a été à la réalisation. C'est lui qui réalise toujours nos émissions. Merci Tony. Merci à vous tous. Rendez-vous la semaine prochaine.